1.
Keep going.
2.
Maybe a bit more for me.
3, 4, 5, 6.
Good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Too hot or all good? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah.
Could I get a Blumenthal actually? Just
Blumenthal.
there we go.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 13 in NPL Victoria. It's Avondale taking on Port Melbourne at the Reggio Calabria Club. Great to have your company this afternoon as the Avengers look to close the gap on Heidelberg in first place after a massive win over South Melbourne at Lakeside last week. Two changes for Zoran Markovski's men, and their two big inclusions. Stefan Zinni back on the wing as Yusuf Ahmed drops to the bench, and Kalalu Kamara is in for Massimo D'Argenio at centre-back. This is only his 8th appearance of the season, but he has been outstanding since joining the club last year. Tom Manos continues between the sticks. Adam El Hayek, Aidan Bryce, and Kerr playing as a makeshift left-back, stood out against South last week and continues in that position. A midfield three of Yite Towns, Sian Cuba, and Joey Katabian. And Zinni joining Liston Diaz and George Ott. 2 goals against South Melbourne last week in the forward line. Yusuf Ahmed, the original, and Yusuf Ahmed, the second. We've got 2 players with the same name on Avondale's team sheet today. Both on the bench. Ethan Pisani, George Mells, the former Port Melbourne player, Sebastian Vargas, and backup goalkeeper Mayan make up the substitutes for the home side. And for Port Melbourne, it's unchanged from last week's lineup that defeated Dandenong City 3-1. Ilya Shalamanov-Trenkov between the sticks. A back three of Alex Baker, Maker, and Nathan Hancock. Mark Latsis and Daniel Edwards the wing-backs, with Owen Stokes and Charlie Leach running the midfield. A front line of Andrew Mezzaruni, Emmanuel Peters, and Jackson Courtney Perkins, fresh off 2 goals against Hajduk. On the bench for Port Melbourne, Evan Marco Yanakis, Ethan Brooks comes in for Lucas Burns, Christian Bombachi, Atticus Gonzalez, Daniel Cutler, and Dane Milovanovic. My name is Josh Parrish, delighted to have Ed Gooden alongside me in commentary today. Ed, beautiful day out at Avenger Park.
It's beautiful. It's a strange weather. I feel you're in jacket, jeans, obviously shoes. I do also have the shoes on, but I've got shorts on and just a light jumper. And you can kind of see people are just differing in their attire throughout because they just don't know how to control their body temperatures in this type of weather. But great to be back on the airwaves, Josh, man, and with a fantastic fixture, as you said. Avondale are pretty hot at the moment, and Port, they've had a decent string of results after their rocky season, let's say that. But they've managed to pull it back and sit in the classic Port Melbourne position of 6th on the table.
Yeah, they're always a perennial finals contender. And with the changes in the off-season, a younger lineup, a new head coach, they've done brilliantly to be where they are so far. This is Courtney Perkins, sliding challenge from El Hayek. Didn't make a touch on the ball in the end. And goal kick is the verdict.
Jackson Courtney Perkins recently cut his hair shorter, Josh. Did he used to have long hair?
Not sure, Ed, actually, but there is a barber in the lineup today, and Emmanuel Peters, so if you need a trim, he's the man to go to.
I was about to say, didn't know Ralph Barber was making a comeback.
Well, there's a Jesse Barber in the Port Melbourne squad, but not on the team sheet today. It's been in and out from the under-23s. Owen Stokes. Back to Hancock. Michael Mammis is today's referee. And we've got almost a 4 or 5 way title race this season, which is very exciting. Port Melbourne just perched outside that bracket of teams, but Heidelberg taking the lead in the title race last night, of course. South Melbourne and Avondale will play today and tomorrow, and see how it shakes out. This is Sian Cuba. Back with Bryce, under pressure from Peters. Ott with the layoff. First time pass from Cuba is a very good one. And now Stefan Zinni has space to attack here. It's Zinni, and it's well saved by Shalamanov-Trenkov, and the rebound from Liston Diaz, blocked well by Baker behind for the game's first corner. Well, Stefan Zinni, freshly back into the Avondale lineup, had a glorious chance in the opening 3 minutes.
He did everything right, made his way down that left-hand side, and it was a decent strike across the goalkeeper, but was a good save to parry it away. A little bit disappointed there for Liston Diaz to not put a fair bit of power behind it, Josh, man. It looked like he just tried to pass it in. Took the conservative route.
Was on his weaker right boot. This is Kerr with the left. Floated delivery, Ott attacking it, and it's just flashed wide. And George Ott full of confidence right now. Well, he only scored 1 goal for the Avengers after joining mid-season from St Albans. He's already got 3 this season, including 2 last week. And that was nearly number 4 of the campaign. This is Maker on the ball. Exchanging passes with Charlie Leach. Hancock. Can actually confirm, Ed, that's Evan Marco Yanakis between the sticks. And not Shalamanov Trenkov. So maybe a late change. We had Shalamanov Trenkov as a right-in at the bottom of the team sheet, handwritten. And then a late change to the starting goalkeeper. So maybe an injury cloud over the Port Melbourne custodian. Emmanuel Peters. Leach for Stokes. Probably should have clocked that earlier, Ed, considering Evan Marco Yanakis is about 7 or 8 inches shorter than the 6'5" Shalamanov Trenkov. But big game for Evan today, playing against his former side. And he gets the nod. Peters does really well to keep it in. 1v1 against Kerr. Got a toe to it. It's off Latsis. And ricochets behind for a goal kick.
Can you see if Shalamanov Trenkov is on the bench, Josh?
I need my binoculars here, but... to wait till they stand up. Liston Diaz getting the wrong side of Baker. Is brought down and it's outside the area. And let's see what punishment awaits Alex Baker. It's not deemed to be a football challenge, denying a goal scoring opportunity. Well, there's a yellow card shown. It looked like it was shown to Nathan Hancock there, maybe for dissent. And now we await the card for Baker. Looks like it's going to be yellow as well. So, Michael Mammis taking a lenient approach. Certainly could have been red inside the first few minutes, Ed.
I was going to say, it'd be a harsh red, Josh. I think if there weren't a couple of other players tracking back and following the ball, then you could probably make a stronger argument to see the red card. But yellow probably makes a lot of sense to me. But it's not, you know, two of your defenders as well on yellow cards this early in the game is not a great place to be if you're Port Melbourne.
I'm not sure what the yellow card for Hancock was for. Could have been an earlier offence in the build-up, or maybe his reaction to the decision. Anyway, it's going to be Kerr to chip it in. Takes a touch off the wall and behind. Well, Port Melbourne opened up early. Kerr. In swinger to the near post is a good delivery. Courtney Perkins gets his head to it and then clipped in by Sion Cuba. How about that? That is incredible from Sion Cuba. It was unorthodox, but it curls over Evan Marco Yanakis and into the far corner. And Avondale have a 1-goal lead.
It's an unbelievable strike, Josh, man. Not one with power, but with incredible dexterity. The spin on that ball, starting in the centre of the goal and then curling into the side netting on that right-hand side. Marco Yanakis really didn't stand a chance. curling away, looping so high. And the deft touch to just drop that down into the net. Staggering. Having a look at the replay here, and you know, it didn't even hit, it wasn't really top bins, it was just curling so nicely away from the goalkeeper, and something really out of nothing, Josh, from a set piece.
Oh, bend it like Sion. Unbelievable. It's his third goal of the year. They tend to be spectacular when Sion Cuba is involved. Scored a goal of the year contender for Altona Magic last season. Does his best work from long range. Charlie Leach with a neat turn. Latsis wrong-footed by the pass. Kerr rode 2 challenges. Couldn't get through the third, but Katavian returns the ball to Kerr. That's a lovely reverse, and George Ott couldn't make proper contact with his first touch.
It's unlucky there for Port Melbourne in the press, Josh. They dismantled the Avondale players a couple times, but were unable to really take possession of the ball, and then Kerr just one single touch, all the space had opened up as per the Port Melbourne press, and single ball in, but George Ott unable to take it under control.
Zinni. Layoff goes straight to Peters. Latsis. Owen Stokes. Still not quite wrapping our heads around that spectacular curler from Sion Cuba. Latsis. Drifting in field. Touch from Mezzaruni for Peters. Peters on his left. Oh, Emmanuel Peters has picked the gap with precision. And we're all square here at the Reggio Calabria Club. How did he find a way through there?
I'm trying to have a look at the goal again, Josh, and the questions really have to be asked of the Avondale defence here, and possibly even of Tom Manos. It's really a simple goal in the end, but just a strange one. The ball rolling along the surface as if it's an 8 ball on a pool table, and credit to Emmanuel Peters for wrapping his foot around it and curling it past Manos, but maybe he was blindsided, maybe he was waiting for a deflection to come from the encroaching Port Melbourne player, but...
Well, Mezzaruni has to be credited here. It was a good leave, and he's essentially dummied the goalkeeper on the way through. Incredible. Well, Manny Peters has his 7th goal in his last 9 games.
I think the celebration from Peters as well may paint a bit of a picture. I don't think he was too happy with the strike, but...
Oh, first time shot comes in, and Manos fumbling it again. It was Owen Stokes who unleashed. A rocky start for the Avondale goalkeeper. I think Manos was desperately appealing to the assistant referee for an offside against Mezzaruni for infringing his vision, but I think Mezzaruni was onside, played onside by Kalalu Kamara. They were very deep there, the Avondale backline. Well, 2 absolutely dumbfounding goals inside the first 10 minutes. And we're on for a barn burner here at Avenger Park. Diaz floats it to the back post. Zinni can't get his head to it. Kept alive by Stefan Zinni. Kerr. Oh, just a little heavy. Not quite on the same wavelength. Winger and fullback.
Game's really opening up, Josh, and you know, Port Melbourne playing the back 3 with the 2 wing backs are surprisingly very, very open on the wide sides. There's a lot of space for Avondale to run in, despite the fact that Port Melbourne have overloaded both of the sides. But you know, Port, with the sense that they're sending those 2 wing backs forward as well, have so many options when they do head into attack.
Well, Adam El Hayek was a winger in his younger days, converted to fullback during his time at Western United Youth. And Kerr, well, he's just been converted to fullback last week, so they're both pretty attack-minded, and I guess if you've only got one genuine wide player on each flank, you can get overloaded there. That was Baker winning it back, and now Leach lays it off for Stokes. Trying to be too clever by half there, the Irish playmaker. And ended up splitting the difference between two teammates.
Just seems like any time there's a turnover, both sides are just running into an opportunity.
I think the high press from either side is very much a factor. I mean, Port Melbourne right up on the halfway line whenever they get a chance. It's the way they've played all season. Front foot defending. Hancock.
So Avondale's press, Josh, it's high, but it's not necessarily intense. They just kind of sit high and wait for Port to play a long ball as they did then, and hoping it's a turnover. But I'm guessing they're just sitting in that position, anticipating a turnover so that they can counter into attack really quickly.
Yeah, I think they're happy to let a couple of the Port Melbourne defenders have time on the ball, as long as everybody else is tightly marshalled. I suppose he should be a bit more worried about Nathan Hancock's range of passing, given that he can step into midfield as well. Kamara goes back to Manos. Manos hangs the switch high, and Latsis heads it straight back to Cuba. A little touch on the back of the ankle from Owen Stokes on Sion Cuba. Oh, it's been a really watchable game so far. Bryce. Ott for Cuba. El Hayek runs into traffic there, and Edwards puts it out for an Avondale throw. A long one back to his centre backs. Kamara. Bryce for Kerr. And that big win at Lakeside last week, they played a little bit more on the counter-attack than they're used to, Avondale. Now getting some sustained possession, and Aiden Bryce clips one over the top for George Ott. Kerr providing support from left back. Kerr thought about the cross, said he'll take on Peters. Now he whips it in, takes a deflection on Roots. Can the Sharks come back the other way through Stokes? Courtney Perkins. Oh, that's a great ball to find him from Stokes. Jackson Courtney Perkins. Cutting inside El Hayek. Won't sit for him in his right, and Kamara comes in with a strong tackle. One he had to win, and that's a cynical foul from Courtney Perkins. One born out of frustration, I think.
It's a great touch by Courtney Perkins. As soon as he got on that ball, he was away and in on goal, but the running back by all of the Avondale defenders was able to shut down that opportunity.
It's end-to-end action here at the moment as Zinni finds Cuba. Katabian prompting the run of Kerr. That's to spread his intentions like an open book. Very neat spin from Cuba in midfield. Now Katabian sprays it out to El Hayek. Avondale probing for an opening. It's Bryce for Katabian. Always seem to have a free man at the moment. And it's Stefan Zinni on the angle, and George Ott heads over from point blank range. He knows he should have scored there.
I think he jumped expecting it to be higher, Josh, and as he did, the ball actually came in probably at head height if he was standing still. And as he did so, it's just an awkward height for him to try and get it down. But you can see there that the danger that Avondale have just with a single clip ball over the top, that's the quality they have in midfield.
think you're right, Ed. I think he was expecting maybe a clip to the back post for George Ott. Interception by Stokes, but he can't find a teammate. And plenty of action around Victoria today. We'll keep you posted on the live scores from Manningham, where the Blues are down 1-0 at home against Altona Magic. Goal in the 5th minute from the visitors. And then Moreland City, who've lost all 12 of their games this season, are up 2-0 at home to Dandenong Thunder over at CB Smith. So maybe, just maybe, a turn in the fortunes for the cellar dwellers of NPL Victoria. Katabian finding Diaz. Diaz for Ott. Lovely exchange. Diaz's shot is charged down brilliantly by Latsis. They're on the ropes at the moment, Port Melbourne. But they seem to have goal threat of their own every time they go forward.
Well, they're on the ropes, but it doesn't seem to be bothering them too much, Josh. They're not kind of picking up the intensity or feeling flustered. They're just kind of accepting the fact that Avondale are going to have their chances. They're going to move the ball through the middle and out wide. But if the chances keep coming, they may have to make some changes.
That one's rolled out for a throw. Not a great position for Adam L. Hayek to take. Good distance on it though for George Ott. Hancock, very calmly done. Maker, Mezzaruni, and now Peters. What about the early shots? Squared up for Andrew Mezzaruni to strike, and he never really got hold of it. Not that that's been a problem for the goal so far in this game, but just a little scuffed off the boot of the number 27.
I think the more Port Melbourne can get the ball at the feet of Emmanuel Peters, Josh, the more luck they're going to have in front of goal. Turnovers like that help as well.
Here's Latsis keeping his feet against Kerr. Sees his shot blocked by Cuba. And Manos is unable to prevent the corner there.
Tom Manos just seems like he needs a bit of a confidence builder here, Josh. Maybe a big punch or a good save. Seems to be just a little bit flustered. And the wind is picking up as well, so that never helps.
It's going to be Owen Stokes, who's a master of the dead ball. He's put in some great crosses from set pieces this season and even scored one directly against South Melbourne 2 weeks ago. Well, it's a floated delivery, and Manos, nerve shredded again for the home fans as Tom Manos sees that one sail past his far post. Ott. Crafty layoff for Sian Cuba. Diaz. Cuba. And now Yite Towns on the outside. Well, Towns thought he was fouled there, I think. It was an awkward tangle of legs. Alex Baker got enough of the ball to satisfy the officials.
Haven't seen much of Yite Towns this game, Josh. He's a bit of a pest in the midfield usually, but not really that type of game for him, but he's got the pace going forward.
He's missed a few games this season. One of the best midfielders in the competition on his day, but he hasn't seen much of the ball so far. You're right, Ed.
Someone I'm really enjoying watching so far, Josh, is the way that George Ott is moving his way into the midfield, operating as just a layoff option for his midfielders coming forward.
Oh, look how confident Kamara is here with the ball. Such an asset. And there's Ott again, playing the hold-up man, and now Cuba. Avondale taking their time with the build-up. Just waiting for the right avenue to open. Not rushing things here, even at 1-1. Kamara for El Hayek. Tabia not just bobbled on him. See what he was trying to do, but...
Very generous of you, Josh.
Wow. Sure, it wasn't all the turf's doing, but it just seemed to pop up at the wrong moment.
Gee, that fence on that freeway side does a lot of good work, doesn't it? The insurance policy of cars would just skyrocket if it wasn't there.
We're right next to the City Link here, and Brunswick.
You know, I was driving through Albert Park the other day. I saw a car get clobbered by a golf ball.
Oh, no.
It was not good.
Mezzaruni. Lovely switch from Mezzaruni for Latsis. Latsis inside. Can't find a way past Zinni. And then Kerr is brought down. And Michael Mammis will signal the advantage. The Avengers pile forward. Yite Towns. Diaz. Cuba. Oh, not cleared. And then Liston Diaz goes down a little hopefully. Well, there was so much spin on that pass from Sian Cuba, and we know he's a spin king after his opening goal, but I think the defender found it impossible to clear that ball because it was just rotating too much as it came down. Now it's slipped over the top for Diaz, who doesn't quite get there.
They love a little clip ball, don't they, Avondale? Port Melbourne, I'm not exactly sure how you counteract that outside of just maybe sitting a bit deeper, but then that just invites pressure from Avondale. Got to stay on their toes here, the Port Melbourne back three.
I mean, I'm sure he's hesitant after the first goal, but Marko Giannakis could maybe play a little further off his line. He's come up a bit now, but when you're playing that high defensive line, you need your goalkeeper to sweep. Maker for Hancock.
Have a look at the options up front here for Port, though, Josh. They've almost got 5 up top, and Hancock is motioning for the ball to Latsis, but he's going to turn back to the left.
Really trying to stretch and pin Avondale in here, but it doesn't help if you turn it over. And that could be a third yellow card for the third member of the Port Melbourne back three.
Not what you want, Josh, and that really just came from a single misplaced pass where they had options everywhere on the field. I feel like Port Melbourne just need to take these opportunities when they see them and just get the ball forward, because they're dangerous when they do so.
Possible the wing-backs are just a little too high to provide the easy passing option, asking too much of...
I don't think you can be too high. I think the further you go, the deeper the defensive line is going to press.
Kerr, lovely shape on it for Aiden Bryce! Avondale in front again. Kerr for Aiden Bryce. And the captain makes no mistake. His second goal of the campaign. Well, Port Melbourne punished ruthlessly for their turnover. Not only a yellow card for Maker, but a brilliant delivery and a thumping header for the captain.
Well, it has to be said, Josh, man. Port Melbourne, unfortunately, the maker of their own undoing on that occasion. The Port Melbourne staff will be spewing, first of all, at the turnover and then possibly the necessary foul, but a yellow card to come with it. And then the set piece where Aiden Bryce really was unmarked. It was a devastating ball in, to be fair, but just want to see a little bit more pressure, especially on one of the tallest players on the field. But clinical finish. But again, disappointing for Port Melbourne.
Avondale profiting from set pieces again. First goal came off a second ball from a corner, and then that one a direct contribution. You can't ask for a better cross than that as a big centre-back coming forward for a set piece. That's what you dream of.
And a big bash of a header as well. No chance.
Aiden Bryce really is the platonic ideal of the big brave centre-back. Captain, leader, legend. Nice little reverse, looking for Peters, but Kamara comes away. Slide from Stokes was clean. Oh, and turned over sloppily by Mezzaruni. And Yite Towns, well, Stefan Zinni thought the ball should have been his, and I tend to agree.
There's that sweeper keeper, Josh. Maka Yanakis sitting high enough to intercept that ball. That was the pass that was causing Port Melbourne a lot of difficulties earlier in the game. Just another silly turnover, really, from Port Melbourne, opening it up for Avondale.
Stokes. Lovely weight on that ball. Latsis up against Kerr. Peters. Stokes. It's a little too much on it. And Tom Manos. Well, maybe that's the confidence builder he needed.
The standard save. It's a much better ball out wide to Latsis. He's always going to have a 2-on-1 with Manny Peters in support. The ball just needs to get out there to him quick enough.
Well, big news from CB Smith, Ed. 3-0 to Moreland City.
You're kidding.
This has got to be it. If they lose this one, there's officially a curse. They've lost, I think, 8 of their 12 games by 1 goal.
That is
which is absolutely brutal. So, surely.
Who are they playing against?
Dandenong Thunder, who are struggling.
Didn't they go down? They went down 8-0, didn't they, a couple of weeks ago?
Against Avondale, in fact, as Latsis puts an early ball in, but there's no one on the scene in time as far as the Sharks are concerned. That was a costly one for Avondale as well, though, with Christian Trajewski going down with a broken leg after a red card challenge. And that's a sickener to lose one of the league's premier playmakers. He's here watching in a moon boot today. Wishing him a speedy recovery for his sake and for the league's. Peters, lovely shift of his weight. Tries to get around Cuba. And that's a handball, surely, against Manny Peters. Couldn't do much about it, but the arm was dangling. Well, usually he plays through the middle in this Port Melbourne front line, but I think Nick Marinos has just gone, well, their left back isn't a natural defender. We're going to try and target him with our best attacking player. Kerr has held his own in the 1v1 so far. Maybe aside from the goal. Zinni going at Maker. Zinni couldn't craft the space of the purchase on his left foot to cut that ball back effectively, and it's a quickly taken goal kick by Evan Marko-Yanakis. It's just such a great game to watch with two very attack-minded, possession-focused teams who are just taking all sorts of risks and liberties in defence.
It's really just a game of, all right, who's attacking next?
Taking it in turns, aren't they? Stokes.
Great ball.
Latsis, is he onside here? It doesn't matter. Tom Manos off his line in a hurry. Yite Towns showing a bit too much of the ball to Leach, but he gets away with one. El Hayek for Bryce. Looking for Diaz on the flick, and Liston Diaz is saying, well, George Ott, why didn't you break off the shoulder of the last defender? I don't think George Ott expected Liston Diaz to win an aerial contest in which he was giving away about a foot in height.
And also George Ott's probably going, why are you referring to me by my first and last name? That's weird.
I'm pretty sure that's what they do on the pitch.
Oh yeah, it's all a very formal engagement.
Yeah. So, Mr. Ott, what have you not done as I expected?
Are you telling me the front has fallen off? That's right.
Leach under the cosh from Towns. Oh, Yite Towns, what a superb win of the ball that is. And Nathan Hancock gets there ahead of Zinni. I think Zinni thought they were about to stop the game for an injury, but Towns is back on his feet, and Maker plays a brilliant pass to find Stokes in truth. This is Mezzaruni. Spots Jackson Courtney Perkins. Half a shout for handball, but I think it came off the chest of El Hayek there, and then Manos forced to rush the clearance.
feel like I might just be wanting more attacking play from Port Melbourne, Josh, but I just think they have to move the ball faster. Because they got the... You can see there, Latsis, there's the overload on the right side, but they're just not getting it out fast enough. I maybe also would appreciate a switch of wings. Manny Peters heading over the left just to keep things fresh, because all the attacking play is coming down this commentary side.
It seems like a specific game plan that they've workshopped after seeing how Avondale lined up against South Melbourne. But maybe that's not giving Kerr enough credit as a defender. Well,
he's held up pretty well, and I think it's also because Manny Peters, as good a dribbler as he is also very reliant on his pace. But Kerr is equally as quick.
True. You'd think Manny Peters could get the better of El High physically, just given the difference in stature. Big air swing from Contavian, and he gets pinged for handball, and it's a quickly taken free kick, and Manny Peters won't quite get there in time. Well, this game might come down to whether Owen Stokes can pick the right pass. We know he's good on the ball. He's trying to thread the needle every time. And again, that one trickles through to the goalkeeper. Huge chance going begging. Now Sion Cuba back the other way. Turns on the afterburners. Squares it up for Stefan Zinni. Goes to ground. He was appealing. His teammates weren't as excited about their prospects of a spot kick.
Just shows Avondale, they haven't really had a sniff of an attacking chance for 5-10 minutes, but as soon as they do, super dangerous. And Stefan Zinni, we were saying off air before, Josh, it's just good to see him on the park. Been commentating him for, what, maybe 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, he's
a stalwart.
Ever present. Just blown off the cobwebs after a week or so out, but 8 goals this season already is just ridiculous. He was second in the gold medal tally last season behind Jake Marshall and scored 14 goals in the league and finals, including one on grand final day. Peters. Emmanuel Peters fires it in for Courtney Perkins, who was just a step short, a fraction of a second late.
Looks like they have switched wings as well, Josh. Jackson Courtney Perkins.
They must have heard you.
Yeah, listening to the stream, obviously.
Well, we're probably close enough to the pitch here for players to overhear some of our...
Don't leak our tactical secrets.
Well, Charlie Leach is the player down here. Be a real blow to lose him. He's started almost every game, I think. Don't really have a natural replacement in central midfield. Maybe Hancock could step in and Bombarci comes in as a defender. Got Ethan Brooks and Dan Cutler, who are more wide forwards or wing-backs at a push, but maybe young Atticus Gonzalez could deputise in there. Have to wait and see.
One of the better names in NPL. Atticus. To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yep.
Yeah. You know they made a sequel.
I did know that.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
Two Mockingbird.
To kill 2 mockingbirds.
With 1 stone, perhaps.
Who knows?
You know it's an injury stoppage when we start bringing out this sort of material.
Oh, this is the peak. This is why the people tune in. The YouTube comments aren't on, are they? That is so disappointing. Bring that back.
You just message Ed on Twitter with your feedback instead.
Don't message me on Twitter.
Ooh, a turnover straight from the restart. And the 10 men, the Sharks, they're back up to 11 now as Leach comes back on the park. Courtney Perkins. Stokes for Leach. Mezzaruni, space for the strike, deflected, and Tom Manos comes up with an important stop. To change his dive in flight. The deflection did take some of the sting off the shot from Mezzaruni.
It was a good strike, really tidy turn, just kind of a swing of the leg on the right foot. Really sharp save by Manos, also pushing it away from any encroaching Port Melbourne players on the follow-up. Corner coming in, high and looping. Maker with a looping header himself, but goes past everybody. Tom Manos possibly appealing for a foul, but it looks like it's taken a touch on the way through. So it'll be another corner going Port Melbourne's way, Josh Mann.
There's a looping header. I think it was Emmanuel Peters with the centering ball, and Port Melbourne get another chance. We've spoken about Owen Stokes and his set-piece deliveries. Dan Edwards is pretty sharp off his left as well. Back post curler, and Manos has to come. And that one's curled out of play. Avondale survive. Bryce for Kerr. Aiden Bryce finding Cuba. Avondale playing their way out off the short goal kick. And Baker tried to go back to Hancock, but slide came in from George Ott. Quickly taken throw. And it's Peters on the left again. Shielding it. Back to Stokes. Hancock. Peters. Now Owen Stokes finds Latsis on the switch. Mark Latsis, cut back. Trickles back to Owen Stokes. And now Stokes curling one off the left, and it was always ambitious.
Looks really good in theory. That little dummy and then the switch onto the left is very, very tidy.
Tidy's the word. He's such a gifted technical player, Owen Stokes, but the radar's just been slightly off today. Towns.
Port Melbourne are picking up the intensity in their press here, Josh.
Kamara bursting through that press. Hancock following George Ott all the way. Can they keep up? Wow. Avondale just moved the ball around so effectively that you're going to tire yourselves out before long. It's a high wire act. Certainly given them problems in this first half, but nothing the Avengers haven't dealt with before. Ott for Cuba. Hangs a high one. Maker, and then Alex Baker with the header. I just need a defender named Butcher in there alongside Baker and Maker. One of the great combinations. Nathan the Butcher Hancock. Can we come up with a nickname on the spot just to make it fit?
The Butcher.
Mazzarini.
What do your footballing attributes have to be called the Butcher?
I suspect a little bit more unsporting than Nathan Hancock actually is. Katavian Viete Towns. And now here goes Stefan Zinni. Zinni checking inside off the right boots, and it just lacked a little purchase. Evan Marco Yanakis comes up with a comfortable stop.
Again, Avondale, as they move it forward, just using their firepower, especially down this left-hand side with Stefan Zinni, causing Port Melbourne problems. They always seem to just be able to get a shot away or get a little chance here and there. And the patient play as well, breaking down that Port Melbourne press.
Latsis off the chest. Can't keep it away from Kerr. Look at him go. Kerr Thought he was held off the ball there. Meanwhile, Zinni throws a step over and Maker tracked him all the way. An unenviable task when you're a natural central defender and you get taken into that wide 1v1 duel against Stefan Zinni, but Maker has held up his end of the bargain pretty well so far this afternoon.
Especially in the back three where Laxis is having to bomb forward every chance you get. There was really good tracking back actually as well by Jackson Courtney-Perkins. He just recognised that Mark Lapsis was caught out. Come back and tracking the run of Kerker, even if it did mean a shirt pull here or there.
Well, it's all fair if referee doesn't spot it. High one to the back stick for Kamara. Couldn't direct his effort on target. He scored against Port Melbourne in round 1 last year.
Gee, that's a good memory from you, Josh, man.
I was commentating that day. I remember it well. It was an absolute thumping header on debut for Kalaloo Kamara in a 2-2 draw.
Was that here?
That was over at JL Murphy.
Oh.
It's 3 wins in their last 5 against Port Melbourne for Avondale. George Ott. Lovely ball through to find Sian Cuba! Oh. Marco Yanakis, take a bout. Terrific stop from the stand-in goalkeeper. And Port Melbourne still in with a shout in this game. A third on the stroke of half-time. You almost would have felt the Sharks were dead and buried. But Sian Cuba denied.
It's not often you see players go for that high near post, and Marco Yanakis did well to stand up, stay big, stay high, and just the big bear paw over the top of the crossbar.
And Katabian just having to re-center the ball there on the line.
That ball was so clearly, it was about a ball's way off the line as well.
It's a great way to wind up your opposition doing that. Katabian, air underneath that delivery. It's just flicked away from Aiden Bryce at the back post. Cuba looking for George Ott. Oh, it almost fell for Katabian, but Stefan Zinni nicked it off his toe.
Right by that one.
Joey, oh, what a turn from Kerr. Oh, Diaz, and the flag is up, it won't count. Magic from Kerr.
Unbelievable touch, and we were just about to say how excited we were going to be if Joey Katabian just lashed that one, but Kerr with a nice little dink in behind and a fantastic fizzing ball across the box. Has to be said as well, even if it was offside, what a save by Marco Yanakis. That was devastating.
Well, it won't go down on the stat sheet because the flag was up, but that's a brilliant stop. Bryce, Ott, marshalled tightly by Hancock. No free kick forthcoming for George Ott, who might feel a bit hard done by there.
Love the way he goes about it. George Ott stands tall, doing the number 9 of Avondale very proud. Josh, man.
So that's as he heads down. Big shoes to fill, of course, with Liam Boland farewelling the club in very fitting fashion, scoring in the grand final win and heading back home to Western Australia.
How's he going in WA?
Well, I assume they're wiping the floor with their opposition. I haven't looked at the results, but Olympic Kingsway have one of the most ridiculous lists you're likely to see.
Olympic Kingsway?
I think that's what they're called. They've got Joe Knowles, so a couple of former NPL Victoria stars strutting their stuff out west. I think Aaron Williams is playing there as well.
Just putting it up here on Football 24.
Hold that thought as Andrew Mezzaruni makes some headway, but no way past Kalaloo Kamara. Another brilliant challenge from him. Katabian spreads it wide for Zinni. Could there be a sting in the tail of this first half for Port Melbourne? It's Stefan Zinni. Oh, he'll be disappointed with that one. He did the hard part and then fluffed his lines on the shot.
Pretty tough one. Would have had to wrap his right foot completely around that. He's running so quickly, all his weight going to his right-hand side. So, Josh, man, NPL Western Australia, I don't know if these are updated stats, but 7 games played. Does that sound about right to you?
I think they start a little bit later than we do, yeah.
Olympic King, 3rd.
3rd?
Yeah.
There you go. Well, Liam Boland's have to dig in there. But meanwhile, here in Victoria, first half is drawn to a close as Michael Mammis blows time on a really entertaining opening stanza. It was Avondale who took the lead. A ridiculous curling shot from Sian Cuba. Frankly, seemed to defy physics, logic, and it certainly certainly fooled the goalkeeper Evan Marco Yanakis. It was a daisy cutter from Emmanuel Peters with Tom Manos. His vision slightly obscured by a dummy from Andrew Mezzaruni that made it 1-1. And then a perfect dead ball delivery from Kerr straight onto the head of his captain Aidan Bryce. Thumping finish to give Avondale the lead again heading into the break. It's been a really fun watch so far, Ed.
Yeah, summed it up perfectly, Josh, man. Just end-to-end football and tactically really interesting as well, with Port Melbourne just kind of overloading with 5 at the front and Avondale being able to attack back with the advantage in numbers. It's going to be a barnstorming second half, we hope. Fingers crossed.
Well, stay with us. Don't take your eyes off this one. We'll take a short break here on the NPL Victoria live stream. Josh Parrish and Ed Gooden with you here at the Reggio Calabria Club. The halftime score, Avondale 2, Port Melbourne 1. Welcome back to the Reggio Calabria Club. Avenger Park is the venue. The halftime score, Avondale 2, Port Melbourne 1. And a very entertaining opening stanza. Both teams coming out all guns blazing. But it's Avondale who've taken a deserved lead. Aidan Bryce with the decisive goal that separates the two teams thus far. And Port Melbourne just going through their final preparations before kick-off. My name is Josh Parrish. I've got Ed Gooden alongside me. Ed, what have you made of the game thus far, and what do you think the Sharks need to do to get back into it?
The Sharkies, maybe, Josh, man, just need to be a little bit more decisive. If you are just joining us, a really, really entertaining first half, but one that saw Port just dabble on the ball a little bit, not play those decisive passes fast enough when they did have the numbers advantage up forward. For me, Josh, if they continue that positional trend, but then just add the execution to it, they've got a real chance of getting back into this game.
Nick Marinos having to take the long trip around the pitch. He wasn't out in time. The game's kicked off without him on the Port Melbourne bench. And he's been forced to walk behind the goal to get back to the dugout. As Kamara turns it over for Edwards. And now Courtney Perkins was waiting. And then Latsis with the strike. Terrific stop, Manos. Well, Port Melbourne almost bridged the gap within 30 seconds of the restart.
Tom Manos, who had a shaky first half, coming in with a really important fingertip onto that one, not allowing the volley to come through. And when it did eventually come, he's there, springing forward to close down the angle. Great goalkeeping.
Well, that's much better from Manos, who had a couple of nervy moments in the first half and a couple of great saves. Peters bullies his way past El Hayek. Kerr heads away as far as Latsis. And then Stokes gets underneath it and blasts it onto the City Link. Just about.
Picking a ball has to pay tolls. If anyone's listening, do not press the link if you get a message from Toll. Public service announcement.
On that occasion, Owen Stokes didn't quite have the skills and now must pay the bills. Katavian for Towns. El Hayek. Diaz. First time layoff was off the mark. Mezzaruni for Leach. Katavian sliding in and not getting there. And now Courtney Perkins combining with Leach. And then El Hayek. Whoa, he was shoved over there by Peters. And finally the whistle goes. Well, the referee took a long time to make up his mind there. Avondale do get the free kick. But Michael Mammis is doing his best Alfred Hitchcock impersonation. He kept us in suspense.
Michael Mammis maybe not quite synced to the game yet, a little bit delayed. But maybe just...
He was just buffering there.
Just making his mind up a little bit there, but I mean, not a foul for me, Josh, man, to be honest. Going down pretty easily.
Ott flicks it on for Stefan Zinni. Going at Hancock. Great touch from Zinni. Hancock sliding in and keeping pace with him, which is easier said than done for most defenders. Now Zinni having words with the referee.
Great defending by Nathan Hancock. Doing well to come back. Pace of Stefan Zinni. For those as well who didn't see in the first half, 3 yellow cards for Port Melbourne, all 3 centre-backs. So they all have to be very, very careful as they throw numbers forward. And Avondale come back on the counter-attack.
Katavian's corner. Ott and Kamara the obvious targets. Instead it can't beat the first man. Katavian will get another crack at this. Again, Latsis underneath it. Then Ott attacking the high ball. Latsis again springing up to win the header. Leach. Mezzaruni couldn't find a way past. Ball spills back to Leach. And then it was an almost impossible ball to control for Mark Latsis. Tried to take a first touch off the neck. But that was asking a little much from the wing back.
Off the Adam's apple.
teach that one at the academies. Well, Hayek deputising at centre-back as Avondale still looking to regain their shape. They short an option out wide here as Bryce tries to go back to centre-half. Doesn't matter as Ite Towns finds the right angle to find Kerr. Puts it into space. Stefan Zinni. Well, he couldn't keep it in play, but at least he prevented the concession of a goal kick. Latsis. A little flick up to Leach. Gain a little bit of territory there. Latsis signalling this one will go long. Here's Mezzaruni for Port Melbourne. Jackson Courtney Perkins clips it in looking for Peters. They'll Hayek away. Again, Avondale's defending is on a bit of a high wire. Turned over by Diaz. Latsis got there ahead of Kerr and then massively overcooks the cross.
Latsis is someone, Josh, man, who saw so much of the ball in the first half but wasn't quite able to really pierce his way through the Avondale defence. I've mentioned a couple of times, Kerr, the makeshift left back for Avondale, made a point of the fact that Port Melbourne were maybe targeting that left-hand side with the fact Kerr is too experienced defensively, but not able to get too much done there. And credit to Kerr for stepping in and playing that role pretty effectively.
It's 2 weeks in a row for the South Australian, who's spent a bit of time overseas in Serbia with FK Novi Pazar and then came back to play for the Brisbane Roar youth team last season. Made his name at Adelaide City. 11 goals in 15 games in 2022. Flags up against Zinni. This one won't count.
What are you doing for a night out in Serbia?
Have to ask Kerr.
Any recommendations? The best cafe in Belgrade.
It's not the most exotic locale that some of these players on this pitch have been to. Hold that thought as Edwards finds Peters. Edwards with a cutback. Mezzaruni just took a loose touch off his left boot. And now Maker. Does well to make up the ground on George Ott there. Really good front foot defending in the South Sudan international. Edwards copped a little shove into the advertising hoardings there off Adam L. Hayek. Maker. Felled by Ott. No whistle. Nick Marinos furious in the Port Melbourne dugout as Avondale spring away. Zinni, the back heel for Cuba. Oh, Sian Cuba off the crossbar. Lightning almost struck twice in an afternoon for Sian Cuba. That is an absolutely ridiculous effort. Evan Marco Yanakis, the most relieved man inside the Reggio Calabria club right now.
The spin king again, Josh, man. Another looping ball that really would just seem to be in the centre of the goal. Struck the underside of the bar. It must have been close to crossing the line, but Marco Yanakis just flat-footed and, yeah, just almost perfectly in the centre of the goal, but it was so high and so looping. Not really much of a chance for the goalkeeper.
I'm going to be calling Sian Cuba Warney or Morley at this rate.
Stuart McGill, maybe. Shout-outs.
Diaz for Ott. Now Towns 1v1 against Edwards. Goes for a 1-2 with Diaz. He's been very busy today, Liston Diaz, but Maybe some of the output has just been a little heavy-handed. A player who loves to play at a million miles an hour and more often used last season as an impact substitute as opposed to a starter. So used to going pedal to the metal for 20 minutes at a time rather than 90 minutes. Edwards for Peters. Stokes has Latsis in space. Just puts too much air underneath it. Again, that switch from Stokes to Latsis just has to be better, Ed. They've got the space to play that pass, but Avondale know it's coming.
It's just, it feels like they're going just to the right side, maybe a little too often.
I mean, Dan Edwards is no slouch on the left. With this Avondale back line, I thought they'd preferred centre-back pairing back in now, but still looking a little makeshift at fullback. No Jacoupy, no Blake Carpenter. Edwards, that's a fine pass. And now here's JCP. Return ball to Dan Edwards, lost his footing. El Hayek sliding in. Both players in a scrap for it, and Avondale come out on top. Well done, Adam El Hayek. What can he do on the offensive end here? Yite Towns insisting on the ball inside. And now Liston Diaz. Oh, Alex Baker is in trouble here. He's already been booked in the first half, and wow, big decision here for Michael Mamas.
For me, Josh, this is not a tricky call for the referee.
No card.
That is a massive, massive call from the ref. A clear goal-scoring opportunity, really. Obviously not warranting a red, but if that's not a yellow, I don't know what is. The Avondale players are justifiably furious. Michael Mamas maybe making a call for the benefit of the game here, Josh, to not bring Port down to 10, but Alex Baker is a very, very lucky centre-back at the moment, because that is as clear-cut a yellow card as you're likely to see.
Alex Baker, go out and buy a lotto ticket tonight, because it's your lucky day. Kerr and Sian Cuba over the dead ball. Kerr goes for goal. It was always floating over the crossbar. Still nice shape on every ball he hits, though, Kerr. He's got lovely technique on the left peg.
This wind as well is picking up, Josh, and we've seen a couple times that Port struggled under the Avondale set piece. And I think that may accelerate if the wind gets even more swirly.
Mostly blowing to Woods. The goal Avondale are attacking, so probably benefits the home side. Bryce had the effect of maybe flattening out some of those longer range drives. Liston Diaz, a good win in the air. Hancock, Maker. Mezzaruni was offside, and even though he didn't touch the ball, still very much involved. Well, it wouldn't have mattered, but I think he was gesticulating towards Emmanuel Peters, saying, "Why aren't you making the run off behind me so I can dummy it through to you?"
I wouldn't be surprised, Josh, if the Port Melbourne coaching staff start throwing the magnets around. Just to freshen the legs, maybe, of a couple of the attacking wide players.
I'd be getting Alex Baker off as soon as possible, because he's on 2 strikes.
Well, they all are, really. I mean,
yeah, true. Got Bombarci on the bench, who's the captain of the club. Well, he's on 4 yellow cards this season, so 1 more for him and he'll be suspended next week. Yes. So they're in a bit of a tough spot with their defensive options.
Bit too much cheese flying around.
Port Melbourne have brought an entire pack of craft singles with them today. If they're not careful, they'll be complimenting them with a nice slice of tomato.
Shout outs to Brenton Rowe.
If you're listening, Brenton.
Sandwich king of NPL.
Bryce. With Yite Towns. Katabian. Kamara for Towns. Oh, that's a perfect ball from Yite Towns. And George Ott is around the goalkeeper. And Avondale have a third. And that should do it for the reigning champions. George Ott with his 4th goal of the season. His 3rd in the space of 2 weeks. And Tom Manos has run the length of the pitch to congratulate his number 9.
What a ball from Yite Towns. It's just a single slice through the Port Melbourne defence, and watching the replay here, it's such a good ball. And George Ott with the composure just to walk his way around the goalkeeper and just to slot it home. With 30 minutes left, Josh, Port Melbourne are going to have to pull something out of the bag to get a result here.
Well, this is curious. So Bombachi on, Mark Latsis off. So it's a central defender on for a wing-back. And Alex Baker is going to play at right wing-back.
Unbelievable. That is interesting.
That is very odd. The obvious
strange.
straight swap there is probably Dan Cutler. They don't have Fraser Dunlop on the bench today, which is probably the issue, which Mark Latsis and Dunlop usually split time in that position.
Maybe it's for the long ball out wide to maybe use the height. I mean, look at Alex Baker on that wing. That is just odd.
There's a polar bear in Arlington, Texas at the moment. Man out of place. I'll see what he, how he takes to his new role.
What a ball from Yite Towns, though, Josh. I almost didn't realise how he was basically in the centre of the field, and he's played that ball, and George Ott probably didn't even need to touch it before having a strike. It was so well weighted.
Let's talk about Kerr's delivery off the free kick in the first half as a centre-back's dream. Attacking that ball. That was a striker's dream, that through ball. Yite Towns, he was a little quiet in the first half hour or so, but that's the quality he can bring. Here's Manny Peters. Shifting the ball onto his left. It's a dangerous one, and Courtney Perkins sees his shot repelled by Manos. Massive save from the Avondale custodian. Port Melbourne should have had a lifeline there. Oh, Towns over the top of the pack. And then Maker. He clips it over to Courtney Perkins. There might be life in this one yet.
It's the 2nd time now, Josh, that Tom Manos has come to the rescue for Avondale. After a bit of a rocky first half, he's stood up twice now, saving 2 certain goals. And Jackson Courtney Perkins must just be scratching his head. What can he do?
Here's Baker at right wing back. Ballarat boy barrelling forward.
Oh, that's a big hip and shoulder.
A big don't argue there from Courtney Perkins.
Oh, just an immovable object. Hitting a big house. And that'll win a man.
Well, at the risk of committing a Sharon violation, I think JCP has been watching a little too much Harley Reid in the last few weeks.
It wasn't even a don't argue, Josh. We're watching the replay here. He just kind of stands there.
Oh, yeah.
Locks him.
Absolutely clobbered.
Hard screen.
Moving screen, I think. Kamara. Oh, that's a brilliant layoff from George Ott. And now Avondale are away again. Zinni just had to check his run slightly. Beautiful footwork from Stefan Zinni. And now they've got 2 free on the far side. El Hayek plays a safer pass.
Avondale just really kind of running Port Melbourne off the park a little bit here, Josh. Speed of their counter-attack, they just slow it down so well.
Oh, and Diaz breezes past Baker, and low delivery is well dealt with. Cuba. Clip ball into Ott. Heads it down. Zinni couldn't connect. Charlie Leach in the way. Now Diaz. Ball runs away from him. Ott tried to thread the needle through the legs of Charlie Leach. got enough on it. Stokes for Leach. He's just been flagging a little bit since that injury issue in the first half. Stokes will switch the point of attack. Courtney Perkins. Baker. Back to Stokes. Leach. Ute Towns coming in to win that ball, and now Zinni and Kerr. Knocks it first time for Ott. Oh, somehow it's worked out for George Ott here. And Nathan Hancock is down in a heap. And George Ott drifts it across the box. Christian Bombarci, the substitute. Oh, and they're going to have to put the ball out here for Nathan Hancock. He's in a world of hurt. I don't know how George Ott got through there.
George Ott doing George Ott things, summoning a portal.
It looked like Hancock was going to slide it out of play. Might have done himself a bit of damage.
Looks like he's okay.
Zoran Markovski having words with Michael Mathis. Pretty exasperated words by the looks of things.
Where's the cheese?
Funny tale of Zoran Markovski and his assistant coach Jeff Fleming last week, the big game against South Melbourne. He and Fleming are both getting their coaching badges at the moment.
Oh, great.
And they had some sort of session or assessment, and it meant they had to miss the first half.
That is ironic.
Again, the biggest game of the season, they rock up at halftime with Andy Vargas steering the ship.
Ooh. That is interesting. Did they pass the assessment?
I hope so. I think he would have been forgiven for being a bit distracted. Maybe they had their phones out with the stream going.
What's the coaching badge?
I think it's their A license, but good on them for getting their qualifications. But a very ill-timed academic commitment. Worked out well for Avondale in the end as Ethan Brooks has come on. Just activated that sub with the injury stoppage a few moments ago. Looks as if Mezzaruni has been dragged.
They do need just a bit of creativity here, Port Melbourne. Just something to open up the game a bit.
Brooks immediately involved, and Edwards squares it for Leach. Stokes had a bit of room here. It's a switch to Baker, and then fed down the line, Courtney Perkins. And Bryce in the way, Port Melbourne corner. Well, they've got 4 centre-backs on the park, so they should have plenty of height off the set piece.
The wind just dying down a little bit here as well, so should be able to get a good ball into the box. Brooks is quite a tall man as well.
Edwards, crowded 6-yard box. Manos palms to it, and then Diaz. Oh, here's Aiden Bryce on the counter-attack. The centre-back looks for a teammate. And that's picked off by Leach. I think we heard Aiden Bryce's reaction on the effects mic.
Kerr's been really tidy at left back, Josh. Sweeping back, using his pace and just the composure to play it back as well, not blaze away.
Kamara, quite enough on it. Opportunity for the Sharks. Courtney Perkins, think about the shot. Said he slides it down the line. Baker across the box, and Kalalu Kamara flying through the air. Well, Tom Manos might well give his defender props there. That was a Superman dive from Kamara.
I don't even quite know how to describe that. It reminded me of Bryce. Was it not Bryce Gibbs? We'll come back to that.
Let's focus on the corner, Ed, man. You can think about your reference while this one is whipped in by Dan Edwards to Stokes. Edwards again off the left peg. Manos out to punch. Now Baker up against Diaz. Maker. Jamaica can't keep it away from Yite Towns.
That's
a second yellow.
Yeah, he's off.
Maker is off here.
That's a second yellow. Michael? Yep, there it is.
There's the red card.
I was worried there for a second.
Thought we had a Graham Pole situation.
Yeah, goodness me.
Michael Mammis was getting around to it. And Maker is sent off. And you have to say that's been coming, Ed.
Yeah.
Not for him specifically, but just for one of these Port Melbourne defenders was always flirting with a red card.
Yeah. And for those, again, just joining us, that red card, the first yellow coming very early in the game. Can't quite remember what the challenge was, but...
I think it was a turnover just before the Aiden Bryce goal. So it was the free kick that was given away for that goal. He just turned the ball over and had to haul down his opponent.
It's always on the cards, unfortunately. Well, at least they've already got a centre-back on the field, Josh.
And there's another change here. So Liston Diaz has come off. And George Mells, the former Port Melbourne player, into the midfield with Sian Cuban moving forward into the front line.
What does Port Melbourne have to do here, Josh? Just throw everything at Avondale and just hope something sticks and, you know, risk.
I'd be tempted to try and keep it tight for 10 minutes before you start pulling out all the stops, because you don't want to be completely hemorrhaging goals for goal difference reasons, but also for confidence reasons, and Avondale can really hurt you. Here's Courtney Perkins. Joey Katabian just copped a flailing arm. I think just inadvertent there, but Courtney Perkins drops the shoulder and lays it off for Stokes. Katabian still down, clutching the face. And then Bryce with an unceremonious challenge. And the medic's called on. I'm not sure the free kick was given there. Just seems to have gotten a little bit out of control in the last few minutes.
Something's going on. Joe Katabian went down pretty quickly amid the Jackson Courtney Perkins run. So he must have got the fair clobbering.
I don't know how Aiden Bryce has gotten away with that.
Questions to be asked, Josh, man.
We'll see what Mammoth decides to do, whether there's a word from his assistant on the far side or...
So Joey's okay. Haven't seen any claret yet, but maybe something to the eye. Bit of grass in the eye.
Never fun. So, incident involving former Avondale goalkeeper Bon Scott at Genesteel Stadium last night in the Preston game against Lane Warren. Looks a fair bit more serious, this one. And Katabian in real pain. Struggling to get to his feet here. Maybe there's a bit more force behind that forearm than we thought.
He does look quite wobbly, Joey Katabian.
Yeah, this is not good.
Could possibly be a broken nose. That usually does kind of knock you around a little bit.
Well, substitutes ready to come on for Avondale. Oh, it's going to be a free kick, Ed. So
thank you.
Aiden Bryce didn't get away with that one after all. It's just in the kerfuffle of the injury stoppage that didn't quite see the signal. Joey Katabian struggles off, and then going to see Yusuf Ahmed, the younger, Yui Jr., come onto the park. Been plucked from relative obscurity in State League 2 in South Australia. Part of the premiership winning side there.
Fair few South Australians on the pitch.
It's a hotbed of talent, Ed. There's something in the water, but Salisbury United going back up to second tier in South Australia. Owen Stokes with the free kick. It's beaten away by the fists of Tom Manos. Now Ethan Brooks. Still battling for it with Ahmed. But yes, Yusuf Ahmed scoring 10 goals in Salisbury City's promotion-winning campaign. Salisbury United, I should say. And he really caught the eye, actually, at the African Nations Cup, the South Australian edition of that tournament, where he scored 8 goals for Somalia as they won the championship.
How many games would that involve?
Oh, no more than 8, Ed. Yeah. I think probably less than that.
That's big time.
It's only a quick group stage and knockouts, so that's serious output. So great to see that wonderful community tournament. We have an edition here in Victoria as well, being an opportunity, a proving ground for players to get signed by the champions here in Victoria. Let's see how he does in just his 3rd appearance of the campaign. Zinni. Kerr on the outside. Mells is the option off the cut back. Mells back to Kerr. Fired across the box. Hancock lances the header away, and this is Yusuf Ahmed. Ahmed for Mells. Lovely first time ball. And then Sion Cuba beats Marco Yanakis at his near post. And it's another magic trick off the right boot for Sion Cuba. Well, that is remarkable. Could have had a hat-trick today with another one crashing off the crossbar. Instead, he'll settle for a brace, and Avondale will settle nicely for a 4-1 lead.
It's a really tidy move from Avondale, starting on the right-hand side with Yusuf Ahmed, and the finish at the near post. Possibly questions to be asked of the Port Melbourne goalkeeper, but it's a very tidy finish, quite an acute angle, and just going above the outstretched hands.
I think he's just massively faked out the goalkeeper there. He's given him the eyes. Goalkeeper expecting the cross and shaping to dive at a ball driven across the 6-yard box, and Sion Cuba's just gone for goal instead. But
celebrations as well, Josh, quite resounding, and Tom Manos has probably done half his running down the field.
I'd love to see Tom Manos' GPS map at the end of this game. There's just be a couple of big lines down the wing.
The heat map. How did he get there?
And Cuba scored 2 magnificent goals today. The first one, a beautiful curler. And the second, a wonderful bit of deception at the near post.
Interesting, Josh, that Port Melbourne, with the 10 men, haven't elected to throw any defenders back. They are kind of going for broke a little bit here. And Avondale do have the overload, especially with Yusuf Ahmed on this right-hand side. This could get a little bit nasty if Port aren't careful.
Well, their high-risk, high-press game plan rather comes unstuck when you're a man short. Here's Yusuf Ahmed, running off the shoulder. Looked like he might have been offside there. It's academic. This ball trickles through to Evan Marco Yanakis. Bombaci. This is Dane Milovanovic, who's come on at centre-back. Edwards. Courtney Perkins. So Nathan Hancock has been replaced. Another one of those players on a yellow card. Ethan Brooks from the angle. He was looking for Courtney Perkins at the far post.
Sorry, Josh.
It's a good stop by Tom Manos. Well helped.
Very tidy football there from Port Melbourne as well, just moving it across the field. And again, Tom Manos jumping in to make the save. It's just that cutting edge that Port Melbourne have maybe lacked today. Hey, Josh Mann.
All right, Ed, I've got some score updates from around the grounds that are going to absolutely blow your noggin.
Don't.
Manningham United 4, Altona Magic 4.
Oh.
Manningham were 4-1 down, and they've scored 3 goals in 2 minutes.
Oh.
This league continues to deliver in spades. Yusuf Ahmed wrestling with Christian Bombachi, who is goal side and wins the free kick. And I can tell you that Moreland City are on the march to their first points of the campaign. They are 4-0 up against Dandenong Thunder.
Thank God.
Jose Sands with a double. Michael Sutsides, the big centre half, and then a Payakuno with a penalty. Stefan Zinni and Adam El Hayek come off for Avondale.
Good spell from both players. Josh, especially Zinni, looking really tidy down the left-hand side, as he does most weeks for the Avengers. And Adam El Hayek, who didn't necessarily see too much of the ball, as Port Melbourne were targeting the left side of Avondale's defence, with Kerr being a bit of a makeshift left back, but attacked well when he had to and defended tidily as he usually does.
So on come Sebastian Vargas and Ethan Pisani. Pisani making his first appearance of the season. He debuted last year in a 7-0 win over Moreland City in March. He had 2 appearances in that campaign, but has been an unused sub in a handful of games this season. Here he is, chasing this one down, Ethan Pisani. Sebastian Vargas has come on as well at right back. And Kerr gets to have a run up front on the left-hand side of the front 3 for deputising ably. There's a makeshift left back, which we've spoken about at length. Mel's got to the ball first. It was a heavy collision with Milovanovic. The referee says play on. He's going to stop it for the injury, in fact. Oh, another goal over at Petty's reserve. And after coming back from 4-1 down, Manningham have now conceded a 5th. So it is 5-4 to Altona Magic.
So Altona were winning 4-1.
They're winning 4-1. They've coughed it up, and now they lead again in the 86th
Where's
minute.
this game being played again?
Over at Petty's on the artificial turf.
Petty Istanbul. Unreal. Where the artificial turf is it?
Yep.
They banned those.
No, absolutely not. A lot of clubs weren't keen on playing on it, we heard, but Manningham, their only kind of alternative venue was the Veneto Club, which is also synthetic. So, well, we've only got one in the top flight here in Victoria. If you go up to New South Wales, it's 75% of the pitches up there are synthetic. Courtney Perkins, Peters. Well, with 10 men, it was always going to be an uphill battle for the Sharks. And they pull one back here. Emmanuel Peters fires it across the box. A touch off Kamara. Here's Yusuf Ahmed. Ahmed sees his pass blocked by Bombachi. Stokes onto Leach. Leach for Courtney Perkins. Just feels like those yellow cards and then eventual red card for Maker has really defined this second half. Stokes. Brooks. Trying to knock it down for Peters. Hayden Bryce saw it coming. Now Sion Cuba releases Kerr. And look at the numbers here for Avondale. Look at Yusuf Ahmed at the back post if they can find him. Instead, Kerr plays it patient. Mells for Kerr. Flag stays down. Kerr relishing the space. Here's Sebastian Vargas. Yusuf Ahmed on the outside. Kerr for Mells. Tidy pass in field for Sion Cuba, who wants his hat-trick. That one well held by the goalkeeper.
Great save for Markianakis, but you could see the space that was available and such a tidy turn and a quick shot again. Spin king.
I think the shot was too conventional.
Yeah. Going for the chip.
Should have tried to curl it around the goalkeeper on the far side. Outside of the boot maybe next time. Ooh, lovely spin. Eye-catching stuff. But he can't keep it in play, Kerr.
Love to see him get a goal today. Just the work rate on that left-hand side. It'd be like if, you know, Liverpool were up 4-1 and just like, you know what, Andy, just go up, have a run on the left wing, just go play striker. He's earned this run around.
Seems to have a lot of fun out there, Kerr. That's why I love watching him. He's been such a valuable and entertaining addition to the league this year. Cuba. Goal he scored against Melbourne Knights at Summer Street. It's lived long in the memory from an almost 0-degree angle. Just smashed it into the roof of the net over the goalkeeper's head.
Another South Australian?
Sure is. Bit of talent. Bombarchi for Edwards. Edwards for Stokes. It's a nice idea. Rather spooned up for Yite Towns there. 5 minutes plus stoppages here. And Avondale are really in cruise control now. Yite Towns stood on the ball and lost his footing. Stokes for Leach. Dan Edwards providing the width. Edwards needs to cut back a little short. Bombarchi onto the loose ball. Then Courtney Perkins finding Edwards on the outside. Not much space for the cross there, and Kamara deals with it pretty easily. Mells, Ox, Ahmed. You can see the passes coming, but you can't stop them. Yusuf Ahmed galloping through. Kerr on the outside, and Yusuf Ahmed will be frustrated with that pass.
Probably just had too many choices, I think.
Almost had a 4v3 there, Avondale, but didn't quite make the most of it. As you say, Yusuf Ahmed spoilt for choice. Baker. They're basically playing a back three with no right wing back. Ethan Brooks is sort of playing winger and wing back at the same time. Sometimes Peters will drift out there, but it's a rather makeshift setup with 10.
That's a touch.
Owen Stokes killing the ball dead out of the evening sky here. Still 5-4 to Altona Magic out at Petty's. Edwards. Can't find a teammate. Again, Kamara. He seems to be in there every time the cross comes in. Bombarchi went down and made sure the referee knew about it.
So this game at half-time was Altona versus Manningham. Was 1-0 Altona.
It was.
So it's been a 8-goal second half.
Just your standard 8-goal second half.
Yeah. That's... What is that, 2 goals every 10 minutes? It's a goal every 5 minutes.
I'm not good at maths, Ed, but it's a lot of goals.
I think that's right.
Switcheroo for Avondale as Yusuf Ahmed and Kerr swap flanks. Stokes. Courtney Perkins. That ball had so much behind it. Owen Stokes has essentially just played a wall pass to himself. Brooks. Looking for Peters. Oh, they're still creating openings, Port Melbourne. They're still playing their football. And they'd be tempted to go into damage limitation mode against the reigning champions with 10 men, but they haven't done that. Still looking for a goal back. That's what I've liked about them this season, Port Melbourne. They've always played really positive attacking football, regardless of circumstance. Bryce giving it away. Stokes for Courtney Perkins. Leach slips it through the gap. And now JCP from range. Not one of his more spectacular efforts. Usually a pretty handy hit off either foot. Jackson Courtney Perkins, but rather scuffed that one through to Tom Manos.
Probably needed to see a bit more of that from Port Melbourne a bit sooner. Just a, a turn and a crack and keeping Manos on his toes. It kind of feels like they're trying to walk it in a little bit here, Josh. Obviously the circumstances are different, but...
This is Cuba. Kerr up against Bombachi. Deserved a goal today. Kerr. Oh, too close to the keeper with the shot. Sion Cuba would have loved a cut back there. He's on a hat-trick. And they haven't unleashed Yusuf Ahmed the first. Avondale kept their powder dry in that respect. I wonder whether there's a little injury worry, because he's got 6 goals this season and usually would be one of the first names on the team sheet. Edwards. Courtney Perkins. Running off the shoulder of Vargas. No whistle. Here goes Courtney Perkins against Kamara. There's just no way past him. He's just a wall in human form sometimes, Galilee Kamara. It's ridiculous. A 1v1 defending. Another South Australian, Ed.
Yes, are you kidding?
Oh, I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
Milovanovic sees his pass picked off. Usually we're talking about all the Queenslanders as far as Victorian NPL game's concerned, but it's South Australian Central at the moment.
Was in Adelaide a few months ago. Pretty nice. You been?
I have been to Adelaide.
Thoughts?
Plenty of churches.
You know what I actually said as we were leaving? I said, I don't think I've seen a church. I don't think I really saw one.
Here's Bryce for Cuba. Ahmed. Almost lost his dribble, but he styled it out, Yusuf Ahmed. And he nearly steals away past Alex Baker. I have to say, Baker, since moving to right wing back, he hasn't done too much damage on the attacking end, but he's held his own in the wide areas on a yellow card against so many fast, tricky attackers. He's done all right there.
Tireless. And also not to concede another yellow card as well.
Avondale play it short in the corner. Off the chest of George Ott. Oh, thought he was brought down. Play goes on with Kerr! And he does get his goal. Well, off the weaker right boot, it was still a rocket from Kerr. And after being shackled as a makeshift left back all afternoon, he gets his chance to gallop forward and makes the most of the opportunity. That's 5 goals this season for the young star. And the scoreline's getting pretty ugly as far as the Sharks are concerned. But against Avondale, it can happen to the best of them.
It's a well-worked goal, Josh, and bit of a fist bump in the commentary box as Kerr gets his goal. Not going to lie, played really well down that left-hand side. We've mentioned it a few times, but looks like Port Melbourne made a pretty decisive plan to target that area, but he stood tall and gets his reward as he's thrown forward in the last few minutes of this game.
Well, Avondale baring their teeth again, sending a message to the rest of the competition. Might have had a few blips and a few injury absences, a couple of red cards. Might be no Christian Trudzeski, but this Avondale side are still a fearsome attacking prospect. Ahmed. Now they throw down the gauntlet to South Melbourne tomorrow, who have to win to go back on top of the table.
I remember that reference that I was going to make earlier in the game.
Timely.
Yeah,
as there's no time for it.
It was when Kieran Gibbs made that save for Arsenal, and then Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain was sent off. That's what it was.
Well, I'm glad we got there in the end, Ed.
Not Bryce Gibbs, another famous South Australian.
Dearie me. Well, it's been a lot of fun watching Avondale strut their stuff here at Avenger Park this afternoon. We hope you've enjoyed the coverage, and the reigning champions will celebrate this one. It was not a lot Port Melbourne could do after Maker received his marching orders for a second yellow card. Alex Baker, perhaps fortunate to stay on the pitch a little earlier. The high press game plan rather fell apart with 10 men. A wonderful, entertaining first half has turned into a rout in the second. Two ridiculous curlers from Sion Cuba. Towering header from Aidan Bryce. George Ott rounding the goalkeeper after a perfect through ball from Yute Towns, and then Kerr wrapping things up with a deserved goal off the right boot. Solitary reply for Port Melbourne coming from Manny Peters. And the Avengers on the charge to contending for another title. We'll sign off here in the NPL Victoria live stream. Any final thoughts, Ed Gooden?
No, summed it up perfectly, Josh. Wonderful game of football from an Avondale perspective. Port Melbourne just didn't quite have that cutting edge going forward, but they can take a few positivities from this. But for Avondale, clinical as always. Sing it again, Avondale fans.
Well, enjoy your evening. There's plenty more NPL Victoria action coming up. Hume City versus Oakley Cannons is the 7 p.m. kickoff, and then South Melbourne in action away to St Albans at 3 p.m. tomorrow. But from myself, Josh Parrish, and Ed Gooden, it's goodbye for now. The final score at Avenger Park, Avondale 5, Port Melbourne 1.